I'm the opinion editor at the Sun Sentinel. Joining me today are my colleagues, Deputy Opinion Editor Dan Sweeney and Martin Dykman, who is a longtime Florida journalist, wrote a very important and memorable book about a scandal in the Florida Supreme Court in the 1970s, and is closely follows everything that relates to the legal system in Florida. So Michael Ahearn, Chris Brown, Suzette Hyde, welcome to all three of you. We're going to try to move through as many issues as we can here. We have about maybe a little bit less than an hour, so I'm going to dive right in. Michael Ahearn, Mike, you've had a long career working in political consulting and working for other judicial candidates. Tell us some of the candidates you've worked for and generally what that experience has been like. You need to unmute your mic. Mike, you need to unmute your microphone.
Steve, his mic is unmuted. He appears to have some other problem with speakers.
Oh, okay. Could you hear what he was saying, Dan?
I could not. No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The mute icon is not on his screen.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Well, there's always at least one technical difficulty in every one of these calls, and that was just it. So now the rest of this should go perfectly smoothly.
Yeah. Is it working okay now? No, I don't think so. Okay. Mm-hmm. Huh. Well,
Mr. Ahern, why don't you log out and try to come back in? Sometimes that seems to fix everything. If you can hear me. If not, I'm going to send that in the chat.
Okay. While you're working on that, let me just, I want to keep things moving. I'm going to move to Chris Brown. Chris, tell us here at the Sun Sentinel, tell us why you want to be a judge.
Why I want to be a judge? Well, I've been a practicing lawyer for 27 years. I have my sole practitioner. I love the practice of law. I love helping people. That's what my forte is. All my clients have been mainly people that have issues, disputes like that. So I was looking for a position on the judiciary, and when the county seat came open, that's the perfect spot for me because that's where I want to be. That's the place where I feel a judge can be most effective in helping the system, helping newcomers to the system. A lot of pro se litigants come in without attorneys. They need someone that will guide them through the system. And I just think my personality is someone that likes to help people, someone that likes to see things done fairly and be able to see people for who they are. I think is ideal for that. It's what I enjoy. It comes really with very little effort from me to be able to extend myself like that. And I really look forward to working for the people in Broward County as a county court judge.
Okay. It's a big county with a huge legal community. I'm curious, have you ever been opposing counsel or co-counsel with either one of your opponents, ever?
I do not believe so.
Okay. You ever support a candidate for judge previously where Michael Ahearn may have been involved in the campaign one way or the other?
That I do not know. I've never been involved in a campaign, but I helped some sitting judges as a treasurer raise money, but basically they ended up unopposed. And, usually with a sitting judge, it's unopposed. They have a lot of community support. So, but no real campaign efforts.
Okay. I have a personal question, and it's really at your discretion to what degree you'd like to discuss it. But when we as voters elect judges, because of the restrictions on what you can discuss, really personal attributes, I think, become more important and more relevant. We know from your biography that your wife is also a judge, a county court judge in Broward County.
That's correct.
And you've had experience raising one or more special needs children. Can you discuss that at all?
Right. Me and my wife, we've been married for 37 years in Broward County for 34 years. We've raised 3 children. Our youngest child, Sandra, had NF, a special needs child. She had a lot of health issues. First off, She was a tremendous blessing for me and my family. I tell people I learned more from my wife and Sandy than I've ever been taught in any school or any book. So it's very important. She had tremendous medical challenges, which basically taught I'm a lawyer, like you point out, Mindy was a lawyer. So navigating the healthcare system was extremely difficult. Getting people to see a special needs child for the person they are was extremely difficult at times. It introduced us to communities like the Special Olympics, Make-A-Wish Foundation, things that we've been involved with. So I would say the single most factor in developing me as the person I am today was that family relationship with Sandy, our youngest child. It was very difficult, the challenges she had. And ultimately, she succumbed to her condition at age 33, 5 years ago. But she was a tremendous, anybody that knows me, knows my wife Mindy, knows that Sandra was a very good, big part of our lives and a big part of our community commitment. It's the Make-A-Wish Foundation every year has a special wish they grant a child in her name. These are our friends and family that donated to that fund to get that going. So it just taught me empathy on how to see people and the struggles they go through. So that has been a major part of my life.
Okay. Let me move briefly to Suzette Hyde. Ms. Hyde, we'd like to hear, kind of an opening statement from you as to, again, why you want to be a judge, but also why you believe you're a better candidate than either of your opponents.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I think becoming a judge in Broward County, for me, just means doing more for more people in Broward. I understand that there is a lack of trust in the judicial system, and they want people who can step up, who can serve with integrity, with character, with strong work ethic. I believe that I have all three of those characteristics based on my past experience. I've been a proud member of the Broward Bar and a resident of Broward County for the past, a proud resident of Broward County for 15 years and a member of the Florida Bar for 15 years as well. I've also served a lot of families here in Broward County, even though I do divorce and child custody cases where there's a lot of acrimony. My focus has really been on strengthening the family foundation, reuniting families, making sure there's no revenge litigation. I've had a lot of satisfied clients come through my office. I've encouraged a lot of people to move forward and improve because I understand that if the family foundation is strong, then the community is also strong. I've also served as a hearing officer, so I have experience on the bench, and I have relieved our county court judges of thousands of cases over the past 10 years. So stepping up means doing more for more people. And I believe that I can easily step into that position more easily than my opponents because I've developed judicial temperament. I know how to deal with many different people who come into our Broward County courts. And I have demonstrated that I'm committed to serving our judiciary and serving our community.
Thanks very much. Michael Ahern, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. What I said before was I'm interested, we're all interested in why you want to be a judge because you've got a unique background in the sense that you've done a lot of consulting work for judicial candidates in Broward County. You're a well-known figure in the legal community. Why? Describe how your past work as a campaign advisor to judicial candidates prepares you for this endeavor.
Okay, Steve, first, unfortunately, I've conferred with Judge Arias at GIAC, and I cannot specifically list candidates that I've previously worked for, though I am permitted to discuss my work in general terms and what I have done. I believe that I have seen this judiciary, whether as a practicing lawyer, whether as a consultant, I've seen the good, I've seen the bad. I believe I know what works, what doesn't work, what's needed for the future, and what can be corrected from the past. I believe that, this was something that I've always wanted to do. It was something that was my mother's dream for me. And, the time was right. I've always preferred county court. I always wanted to, I thought I'd be better suited for county court because that was the primarily, most of my practice. I've done mediations. I think of the three of us, and again, I don't mean, they're primarily family lawyers. I pretty much have been doing family court, either dealing in mediation or PIP or arbitrations for over 15 years. I'm very familiar and very comfortable in county court.
Okay. I do have a question about your work as a mediator and arbitrator.
Okay.
Last year or earlier this year, was there any sort of a dispute or disagreement between yourself and County Judge Robert Lee on the handling of mediation and arbitration cases?
Steve, yes, there was. There was a I guess, a miscommunication between his office and mine, in that again, let's be clear, none of the attorneys who were doing mediations with me complained. Not one. In the years prior, I had cancer and I survived renal failure. I never once canceled. I don't understand what Judge Lee's issue really is. We did everything in compliance as far as we knew. If he said that we didn't, we fixed it immediately. I can only go by my customers. My customers are the lawyers who, again, I've done 5 mediations this week. I can only, I can't, unfortunately, as the old saying goes, you can't please everybody all the time. I don't really understand it. I'm as far as I know, I'm on the list. And again, the attorneys who I work with are very happy with my work product.
Was there a time when Judge Lee suspended your work as a mediator?
Well, understand, he again removed me from the list. That does not remove me from being a mediator. I'm like, these attorneys, I'm like, the attorney mediations go one of two ways. They can either be straight up appointed by the judge says Jimmy Smith, or the judge can say Jimmy Smith, but the attorneys can say Michael Ahern. The attorneys have always continued to say Michael Ahern. I've never lost one bit of business. I mean, again, if he may have, again, I'm not going to say he didn't email me and say for a period of time, then Ms. Ferrano put me back on the list. Yes. I'm like, I've never been fully clear why. I've asked multiple occasions why, and I don't know.
Okay.
But all I could say is the attorneys all continue to use me. I'm like, I believe other judges continued to use me in that time. I never lost an ounce of business.
I want to just briefly ask Chris Brown and Suzette Hyde, if either of you have anything from personal knowledge that you can say about Mr. Ahern's work as a mediator in Broward, and any issues with Judge Lee. If not, it's fine.
I'm not personally aware.
Mr. Brown?
No, I've never mediated with Mr. Ahern.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, can I address real quick?
Go ahead, sure.
Steve, just so again, and I know the sunset, and I know you got, again, I prepped many a candidate for these meetings. I know I get an idea of some things you're impressed with, some things you're not. But I will note that I have a fundraiser upcoming, and there's over 10 firms, and all of them are the primarily firms who do PIP mediation. If they weren't supporting me, this is an open seat. I'm not an incumbent. They wouldn't be supporting me if I didn't do a good job for them as a mediator.
All right. My colleague Martin Dykeman has his hand up. Go ahead, Martin.
Ms. Hyde, I'm told we did not get a questionnaire returned from you. Is that an oversight?
I got acknowledgement of the questionnaire that it was received. I did get acknowledgement that it was received.
Then
Yeah, I'm sorry if Martin didn't get it. I believe we did receive one from Ms. Hyde.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my fault. I don't think I got it either, and I told Martin that I hadn't gotten it. So, Ms. Hyde, that's my fault, and I apologize to you. Sorry.
Well, I've looked at it in detail. We'll be speaking of PIP mediation. Ms. Hyde, you've had a lot of experience in PIP litigation. Am I right?
I believe more than my competitors. Yes.
Tell us the relevancy of that in terms of your qualifications to be on the court, and why is that important information for voters to have?
Sure. In 2002, I started at a PIP firm in New York, and I spent about 5 years at one firm, two years at another firm. I came down to Florida to manage a PIP litigation department, and I did that for a brief period. And then I also worked in-house at an insurance company where I did insurance work, making motions for declaratory judgments and similar insurance matters. The majority of the cases in county court are insurance and PIP related as far as civil cases are concerned. So I believe having that experience puts me at an advantage over my opponents.
As I think one of your opponents mentioned, and other candidates have mentioned, on the civil side in county court, the vast majority of litigants are pro se litigants. They're representing themselves. They don't have attorneys. What do you anticipate? What's the biggest challenge in dealing with a case in which people are not represented by attorneys but are representing themselves?
Is that to me?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge challenge because they come to court with expectations about what should happen. And a lot of them believe that the courts are not there to, on their behalf. They believe that the courts are there as an obstacle to what they want to achieve. So they come to court sometimes antagonistic, angry, and just believing that the court system is above their level and that we're not trying to understand what they want to achieve and trying to help them to get a good solution for them. So a lot of the times, even if they get an outcome that is in their benefit or in their best interest, it all depends on how you do it and how you make them believe as if you're listening to them, you have heard all of their complaints, you have considered everything. And so to make them believe the system is actually working on their behalf. It's all about the process that happens there because a lot of them do not understand the law. So I think that's probably the most important thing, is that to break it down so people understand this is a process that's not above you. You can understand this. We are working on your behalf, and whatever has happened here is happening in your best interests. So sometimes, I'm sorry.
If someone says, you know, hey, if you've been sued or if you're facing a code violation, boy, you better not go into the Broward County Courthouse unless you've hired a lawyer. You agree with that?
Look, there is no there is no need for you to actually have a lawyer if you can understand the law and the process. I believe there are plenty of people who can and they have the ability to do that. The law is accessible to everyone. It's no secret. Just because we go to law school doesn't mean that we have an advantage over people who are able to learn the law as well. So experienced lawyers, of course, are in and out of court and they can do things more efficiently. But I think people should be equipped and empowered to actually represent themselves and to understand what actually happens. Because there are times too, even represented by an attorney, people do not understand the process. And as judges, when you tell them an outcome, they still have to talk to their attorney to understand what has occurred. So I think empowering the people is important.
All right, thank you very much. Go ahead, Martin Dykeman.
Based on a family experience where my wife had to litigate against a pro se defendant, it occurred to me that judges may be cutting a little more slack for pro se defendants in terms of meeting their obligations under the rules of civil procedure than they would for a client represented by an attorney. Is that a danger that you see, and how would you propose to deal with it?
Well, I won't be handling any family cases in county court, but I am aware of what you're referring to because I do have cases with pro se litigants on the other side. It can be quite a challenge, but I think that once you're persistent and you let the court know that this person has been disobeying orders, my experience has been that the judges will do the right thing and will enforce the procedures and enforce the orders.
All right, thanks. Chris Brown, what percentage of your legal work is pro bono?
Actually, I help out a lot. I would say I don't really do a percentage. A lot of my clients, I really am very flexible with fees. I just had a client today try to pay me a fee when I got back she had a $5,000 deposit on the sell a house. I got her back $2,500. She insisted on paying me a fee. I said no, I'm not going to be that type of lawyer. So I don't know percentages. I think if you do it, it seems a lot larger than it really is. Maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, but a lot of discounted fees are done. A lot of bills are left unpaid. And these are just my way. I never sue clients for fees, unpaid fees. I just don't do it. That's not who I am.
Okay. In that case you described about getting part of the deposit back for the client, why didn't you accept a fee in that case?
Well, that individual had two previous lawyers. She's not really difficult, but she had more needs than most people. I got into the case and I worked out a settlement agreement and I got the guys to compromise and give her half the money back. And she really didn't have the money. I mean, this was all she had. She went to buy a house and she put, I mean, it's her life savings, $5,000. So I think that would have been something it didn't sit well with me to go and charge someone any amount of money. And I just told her not to do it. She almost insisted several times. And I just had to tell her, no, I thank you. If you want to send me business, fine. I just think those things are just better left that way. Lawyers have a lot of opportunities to do that. And I do that with a lot of cases.
Okay. Go ahead, Martin. Martin, go ahead.
I didn't have, I thought my
Oh, I'm
hand,
sorry. Okay.
but I'd like to hear Mr. Brown and Mr. Ahern comment on the pro se question.
Yeah. Okay. Michael, what's the biggest challenge you anticipate facing with pro se litigants in a county courtroom?
I'm going to take a different approach to it because I think that, one of the interesting things that has emerged out of the last few years in the justice system is this new emphasis on case count management, that cases have to be done within, X amount of time. I don't know the exact time, but I know the Supreme Court has said that a county court case is expected to be handled to trial to verdict within X amount of time. I don't believe that cases should be necessarily cookie cuttered like that. And I think that in light of that situation, I think pro ses could be ultimately harmed because we're more focused on moving the case along efficiently than making sure that the pro se gets their day and gets heard and has the say that they need to have.
Okay. And Chris Brown, what is your response to the same question about the challenges of pro se litigants?
I understand the difficulty of working with people that don't understand the system, but to me, you got to look at it in why are people in court? They want their case heard, whether you're being sued or you're suing. You want your day to explain your defenses or explain what you're there for. And the judge is to give that person that. So it's like substance over form. So that's why sometimes judges, you always hear the principle in law, the cases should be heard on the merits. There's a thing that allow people to litigate on the merits and not do these. I got you with a civil procedure violation that didn't happen. And some lawyers get caught up in that. But I think it's especially present with pro ses. You're in court. They just want their day in court. They want to be in a fair environment where they're going to be treated fairly, even though they don't have a lawyer. And they want to be able to tell their story and make their defense. And the chips fall where they are. If they're wrong, they're wrong. And if they're right, they're right. But everybody's entitled to their day in court. And I don't think procedures or I got you rules should really restrict that in a manner. But I do agree with the other panel. Cases need to be moved. A delay in justice is no justice. So that's very important also. It's a balance. And I think a judge should have no problem weighing that and conducting his courtroom that way or her courtroom that way.
Okay. Mr. Ahern, as we discussed in Tallahassee when you qualified briefly, you initially had entered a circuit judgeship race, which is now a three-person race in which Senator Gary Farmer is a candidate. Am I right about that?
Correct.
Okay. Tell us why you changed races.
I believe that unfortunately, Steve, I think I'm coming back into starting to make commentaries on other candidates, and I believe under the GAC, I can't do that. All I can say is I thought that it was the matchup as it changed was not the best matchup for me, and that this county court race was something that I thought would be something that I would be good at.
Okay. And in the last question or so, I asked you, you said that I asked you about candidates you'd worked for, and it sounded like you cited someone from whom you'd received legal advice on this question. I didn't hear who that was.
Judge Arias at GIAC.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you, Michael, briefly about something that I want to be sure we have in the right context. Now,
Okay.
this is an entry on your personal Facebook page, where anybody on Facebook can list favorite quotes. You cited a quote from Adolph Mongo. Mr. Mongo I think is a talk radio host in Detroit, maybe a political activist in Michigan. Quote, "I F blank blank K with people. I know how to debate. You've got to know both sides of the issue. I can be for you. I can be against you. I am like a prostitute in the night. Nobody wants to admit that they've been with me, but they come seek me out." Put that in context. What are we supposed to do?
First of all, Steve, I think I put that quote up about 10 or 12 years ago. And I certainly believe it's crass. I do believe that there are parts of it that are actually absolutely true. I've learned from the campaign business. There's a thing that I affectionately call campaign math. And campaign math is simply this. If I win for a candidate, that candidate loves me for life. Their family loves me for life. But on the other side of that math is the person who lost, every person who has a family member who lost will hate me and dislike me. And unfortunately, winning, I've had the opportunity to win more than I've lost. And in doing so, I've accumulated some enemies along the way. That quote, again, I think at the time, 12 years ago, when I cited it, I believed at that time that was part of a persona of a campaign consultant needed to be. I don't necessarily believe that that's true today. We all evolve. We've all mature, and I think I've matured since that comment. But again, I don't deny some of it. Some of it's true. Politics is a dirty business. I'm like, some people want to sit at your table, some people don't. I'm like, but again, that's why I've retired from it.
Okay, fair enough. As I said earlier, the canons being what they are in Florida, voters need to make discerning decisions about judicial candidates based on personal attributes, much more so than maybe somebody running for the legislature or for governor. Let me just open the floor to my colleagues, Dan and Martin, if you guys want to pose a question to any of the candidates at this time.
Yeah, I know this was on the questionnaires, but if you could just real quick remind me, have any of you applied to the JNC for a position?
No.
No. Okay, Ms. Hyde, you have, and were you nominated by the commission?
I was not in 2016.
2016.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
What position did at the time? What were you trying to qualify for?
In 2016, I believe there were two positions that were back to back, a county seat left vacant by Alan Marks and a circuit seat. I believe that opened right after that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had for now. I think
Okay,
Martin
sure.
wanted to ask something.
Yeah, Martin?
Ms. Hyde, you were apparently the only one of the three who applied and were interviewed. Tell me about that interview with the JNC. Were there questions having to do more with politics or with your experience as a lawyer?
That was in 2016, and I remember very few of those questions. I believe it was more about, though, there's some I remember, and it was more about my connectedness with the community and whether or not I would be able to get elected if they were to nominate me. I do remember those types of questions. So, yeah, and also my experience being a hearing officer on the bench and what I had experienced in that position.
Did you feel you got a fair opportunity to apply, or did you feel that sort of the case was decided before you even walked in the room, kind of thing?
I think it's possible because there are so many applicants, and there's so much to read, and it's such a long application, and it's possible that it could have already been decided. I'm not sure.
I know this is 6 years ago and a lot has happened since then, but do you remember who was ultimately picked for that judgeship?
I believe it was Judge Frink was one of them, and I don't recall. I have the information. I don't recall the
Okay. Chris Brown, if you're successful and you get elected in this election, will you at some point down the road seek a circuit judgeship?
No, I will not. Remember, I am not looking to build a career here. I've had a successful career. I love my job. I love what I do. I want to give back to the community. And just in my qualifications, I've tried cases in county court, circuit court criminal, circuit court civil, federal court. I'm the only one that did jury. I'm talking about jury trials in federal court, arguably with the 4th and 3rd DCA. I've actually had a career, a very diverse career, which I'm very happy with. And I think it puts me in a unique position to be a county court judge. And that is it. I have no political ambitions. I'm not losing this as a stepping stone to get somewhere else. I will be right here for the duration.
How long have you been a member of the? How long have you been a practicing attorney in Broward County?
I've been a practicing attorney for approximately 27 years. Before that, I had a technical background in computer science. I actually worked in the computer field and went to University of Miami. I graduated FIU with a degree in computer science. I've also been a correctional officer, and so I was a latecomer to the legal profession. It's not like I went from high school to college to law school. I actually was out in the business world. I had a successful career there and transitioned into the law, which I love. It was one of the best decisions I made, and I do love the practice of law.
How long were you a correctional officer, and where did you work as one?
That was down in Miami-Dade community, down in Miami-Dade. I was a correctional officer there, deputy sheriff there. And that I was doing when I was attending FIU. And then when I graduated FIU in computer field, I moved into a job that dealt with computers. But being a correctional officer teaches you a lot about human nature, about the justice system from that perspective, and just a lot about people. And I think that's part of the growth process I had.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, to follow up on that, you said that being a correctional officer and a law enforcement officer teaches you a lot about the judicial system. And then you went on to say a lot about people and explained that a little bit more. Can you say what exactly you learned about the judicial system as a correctional officer and a law enforcement officer? What did it teach you about it?
Well, you learn, obviously in the county jails, those individuals are usually charged with crimes, but not convicted. So you get their perspective when you're in jail. You have to bring them to court at 4 a.m. You have to see what they're dealing with. You have to see their families reach out to them. They're looking for their day in court. Some are going to be convicted, some are not. But you see that ultimately, no matter what people are dealing with, we're dealing with human beings. And at that level, you can see what everybody has to go through. So it's not sympathy. Sympathy never plays a role in the justice system, but you learn empathy, the ability to see people and their circumstances and understand what they're dealing with. And some will be convicted, some won't. Obviously, from the law enforcement perspective, you have these guys get taken to jail. They're the bad guys. The justice system, you go to court and they determine, is the charge something that they can prove? Is it something that's not? So it's not like you can say they're the bad guy, but you have a tremendous respect for law enforcement. It's a tough job. It's dangerous. They put their lives on the line. And I think over my career, the vast majority of people dealing in law enforcement and correctional officers were all trying to do the right thing. And I figured that was a very good experience for me. I wasn't going to make a career in law enforcement. That's where I met my wife, Mindy. She had a master's degree in criminal justice. So she was actually a correctional officer also, which was kind of funny and unique that we were both in that career for a short time. And now we're both lawyers. And she's obviously a judge, like you pointed out earlier.
Okay. Mike Ahern, and correct me if I'm wrong, because some of these statistics are from one of the other candidates in another judicial race. There are about 90 judges in the county and circuit court system in Broward, and the vast majority of them were appointed to their offices, not elected. And does Broward, some of this is just coincidental, but some of it is by intent. But is it better to have a system where most of the judges are appointed, or would it be better if more of the judges were elected?
I think I think our system that we currently have is fine. I think that there's a balance between there are judges. Again, as this group that we are sitting here today, we are running in an open seat. We can all, we're all equally have the same equal footing. Again, with a appointments process, I think that there's a place for that as well. And ultimately, whoever gets the appointment would have to stand for re-election. Now, many times, again, that maybe I'm naive to say that, because again, most times when you become an incumbent, you don't probably run for, most people don't challenge you, but it is there. The safeguard is in place to make sure that that either way, by appointment or by open seat, that the people have their say in picking their representative.
Okay. Ms. Hyde, you said in your questionnaire, you said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I believe I have this right, that most cases that end up in the county courts involve insurance in one way or another. Elaborate on that if you would, and put it in the context of why that means, what that says about you as a candidate.
Yeah, I went to the bench and bar event, which was led by Judge Lee, which is the chief judge for the county court judges. And he gave some statistics, and he said that a majority of the cases, he actually had to move some criminal judges from criminal to civil to handle the cases that are there. And that a vast majority of them are insurance cases. I have experience dealing with insurance cases on behalf of insurance companies, on behalf of litigants who are disputing cases with insurance companies. And I believe that with that experience, I can serve better as Broward County judge than my opponents.
Okay. Mike Ahern, we don't have time, and I'll ask other candidates a form of this question as well, but we don't have time to list them all. But tell us 2 or 3 organizations or individuals who have endorsed your candidacy that you're especially proud of.
Both police unions. Actually, yesterday, the Council of Firefighters endorsed my campaign. Without going into the specifics, I have 6 retired circuit judges who have endorsed my campaign, a number of community leaders. My theme of my campaign is, I'm trusted by those who you've trusted for years. I don't need to sell it myself. I'll let the people. And again, I think I've been around this process of this screening for Sunseldo enough that I've come to have the impression that I know, again, maybe when Rosemary was here, or Doug, that, endorsements are not always, endorsements are always judged in the sense that, is it an actual real endorsement? That do you really know the person? Do they know you? Or is it what I call a cocktail party endorsement? That it was, oh, hey, so-and-so, and so-and-so says you're a good guy, and I'll endorse you. Okay. My endorsements are all real. They're all people that I have worked with in this community in one level or another. And, and I'm very proud of it.
Okay. You mentioned the Council of Firefighters and 6 retired circuit judges. That's fine. But I'm asking you to name names for me.
Former Chief Judge Dale Ross, retired Judge Tom Lynch, retired Judge Larry Seidlin, retired Judge Eileen O'Connor, retired Judge J. Leonard Fleet, who ironically was the judge in my case when I was a kid, when I was in high school. He's actually come out and endorsed me. And as you know, Steve, he's been retired from this area for well over 20 years. Right. Again, FOP, PBA have all endorsed.
Okay, those are good names. Chris Brown, the same question for you. I'm not looking for, we're not impressed as much by volume as by maybe the prominence of the individual. So I'd like to know, who that a person or persons of high standing in Broward County who've endorsed your candidacy.
Well, actually, I've been out in the Hispanic vote. I went to their panel. This panel that you guys are doing, I think, is a tremendous honor to go out and get an endorsement from someone who's going to turn around and help inform the voters. So I haven't really sought a lot of endorsements. IUPA gave me an endorsement because I went and did an interview with them. I went and did an interview with the Hispanic vote. We did one with SAFE. I didn't get their endorsement, but I was just proud to participate in that. I mean, I can tell you, I haven't really sought Endorsements. I'm not a political guy. I'm not someone that's run for office, but I do have friends and family. Former Judge Marty Dishowitz, who's in my neighborhood, who I respect a lot. They're there. Other names. I wouldn't want to start rounding off names of people who I haven't specifically said, hey, can I publicly announce your endorsement? I am not the endorsement candidate, but I tell you, my friends are lifelong, they're loyal, and they're willing to go and help me to the best extent they can. And I feel very comfortable with asking people for their support. And like I said, the people that's reached out to me, I feel very confident that we got a good group of people. And I just feel blessed to be in a campaign where I'm able to go out and meet the community.
Okay. You may have answered this question before, Chris, but in your career, how many jury trials have you conducted as a judge? Have you been involved in as an attorney?
Jury trials can be anywhere between 20 or something. Like I said, jury trials in county court, jury trials in federal court. And there's a difference between a jury trial in federal court and doing a jury trial in county court. County court, you can do a jury trial in a day. Federal court, it's going to last a little longer. So I've seen the inside of the courtroom. I've selected jurors in all these forums. And I've seen good judges. I've seen bad judges. I've seen good courtrooms and bad courtrooms. I have the diversity of experience because I haven't concentrated on one particular area. I've done bankruptcies. I've helped landlord tenants. I've done all of that.
Okay. Dan, I'll get to you in just a second. I want to give Ms. Hyde a chance to comment. Again, that question we asked about endorsements. Are there any endorsements that you're particularly proud of?
I just got an endorsement from SafePack, so I am definitely proud of that because that was the first endorsement interview that I went on. So I got that one and I'm very excited about it.
What is SafePack? What is that?
They support LGBTQ rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue. I'm sorry.
So and support LGBTQ rights as well. So yeah, I went on that. I think we went on that last week, I believe, Chris. So that's the only endorsement that I'm aware of. However, I was encouraged by many judges to run before putting my name in for nomination. So I feel confident that people trust me and believe that I will make a good Broward County judge.
Okay.
Ms. Hyde, that's SafePack with a V, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What I couldn't hear.
What did it sound like?
It sounded like SafePack.
Safe. Oh no, SAVE.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Also, could you the other question that Steve had asked between the endorsement questions? Steve, what did you just ask? I had to follow up with Ms. Hyde, and then I didn't write down what the question was.
I don't know. We talked about pro se litigants. We talked about
right after the endorsements question. You went to another question and then bounced back to Ms. Hyde on endorsements. We'll come back to it.
Okay, sure. Yep. Okay. I want to ask you, Michael Ahern, a question. Same question we asked Chris Brown a minute ago. If you're successful in this endeavor, is it a natural occurrence for you that you'll at some point you'll seek appointment or election to the circuit court?
You know, Steve, if you said you reviewed my Facebook page, so I'm sure you may have seen it on my campaign page. You know, I made a quote that, you know, the biggest travesty in my life was I had my dream job at age 12, and I was a Texas Rangers bat boy for three spring trainings. Greatest job I ever had in my life, and I was unfortunately 12. My goal today is that I hope that my last job, which is this job, is also the last great job I have. So no, I have no ambition to go to anything other than what I'm seeking at this seat.
As a Texas Rangers bat boy, I mean, is that when they had spring training in Broward County, or is that in Texas?
Pompano Beach.
Yeah, right. I remember well. Okay. Was Nolan Ryan on the Rangers then?
No, that was right before. He was on Houston. Okay.
All right. Okay. Chris Brown, you moved down here to Broward County from Louisville, Kentucky, right?
Yes.
Tell us briefly, again, tell us what brought you from Louisville down to Fort Lauderdale.
Well, we used to vacation in Fort Lauderdale, and my mom loved Florida, and she's always talked about Florida. When I graduated high school and was in college, there really wasn't a lot of employment opportunities in Louisville at that time. So a friend of mine in my senior year at Eastern Kentucky University came up to me and said, "Hey, let's go to Florida. It's got to be fun down there." So I moved down to Florida and ended up in Homestead. And that's where I became a correctional officer and finished up at FIU. And actually, I love South Florida. I met my wife there. I mean, I can't think of going anywhere else. I loved where I'm from, Kentucky. We still go back and visit in the summers. But no, I just came down when I was in college and stayed.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan. You're muted.
Ms. Hyde, a while back, Mr. Brown went into an explanation for how being a correctional officer and a law enforcement officer had really given him a unique perspective outside of his training as a lawyer on being a judge. For you, and you know, Mr. Ahern has a lot of political experience in this realm. I wanted you to kind of answer the same question, which is, outside of your experience as a lawyer, what is it that that gives you what unique perspective do you have on being a judge and on the law and the judiciary in Broward County?
I have 10 years experience as a volunteer guardian with the Florida Guardian Ad Litem program. And that program represents abused, abandoned, and neglected children. I joined that program in 2009 when I was still working with in-house counsel at Equicap Insurance Company. I wanted to volunteer to actually serve the vulnerable and the oppressed in the community. I grew up living with parents and living with relatives other than my parents. And I understand how vulnerable those children can be. And I wanted to play a part in that. So I started out representing children who were taken from their homes and doing weekly visits and writing reports. And then I went on to actually interviewing potential volunteers in my last years while I was there. And I received a letter from Governor Rick Scott after about 8 years of being there, thanking me for my service to the Guardian Ad Litem program. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. It's really a wonderful program that we need more people to take part in, because it reinforces the program that the state has, where they have to remove children, but then nobody's paid. You have to come in and give your views as to what you think is best for the child. So I was able to come into the court and say things like, I believe that this child needs to be involved in different after-school programs, and be able to just connect with the child on a one-on-one basis and actually help the children to reunite with their families, because that's what a lot of them want to do. Excuse me, let me turn my phone off.
Okay, sure. All right. Dan and Martin, I think we'll do this. We have 3 candidates here and we don't have much time left. I wanted to give each of the 3 a chance to make a closing statement, if you guys are okay with that. So we really appreciate your participation here today. I want to ask you for maybe 60, but no more than 90 seconds. I want to ask each of the 3 of you to make sort of a closing statement, an argument, as you might tell a civic group or a group of voters why you're the best candidate for this position. And let's go in alphabetical order. So we'll start with you, Mike Ahern.
Okay, thank you. Steve, I'm going to address 2 parts. So my first part is I believe that I'm the best qualified to serve. I say because I'm someone who received generosity from the system. As I mentioned earlier, when I was a young teenager, I was in the system. I was on probation. I had a judge take an interest in me, and I wish to pay it forward, and hopefully I can have a positive impact on someone else's life. On the other side of that, I don't feel the need that I have to speak for myself, because I can let my supporters speak for me. Again, beyond the unions, beyond police, fire, the judges, people that are respected in this community like Jack Seiler and Ken Jenny and Lori Parrish, amongst many, have endorsed my campaign. And these are people, again, who know me. Pick up the phone, and I understand this process, gentlemen. You'll pick up the phone and call people in the community, and I encourage you to do it. Ask who I am. Ask my endorsers, do they know me? Have they met me? Have we worked together on something? Most likely, they're all going to say yes. Because like I said, I'm very proud of my support. And I do believe that, again, I'm the most qualified for this position. I feel that the other 2 in this race are well qualified. I just have a little bit more of an edge of my basic all-around 25 years of practicing law. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to move to Chris Brown, but very quickly, Mike Ahearn, who was that judge who took an interest in you when you were on probation? Who was
J.
that?
Leonard Fleet.
Leonard Fleet. Okay, sure. Okay.
And he's
Chris Brown, you
available
have the.
if you want to call him.
I beg your pardon?
He's available if you want. He said if you wanted to call him, he's happy to talk to anybody.
Okay, thanks very much. Chris Brown, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. As far as experience, I do agree every candidate here has a minimum requirement to be a judge as far as the legal profession. But I'm the only candidate that's tried jury trials in federal court, county court, circuit, criminal, and circuit court. I've been argued before the 4th DCA and the 3rd DCA. I see the inside of a courtroom in different levels, from the county court to the federal court to the appellate courts. I've litigated a vast majority of cases that are completely diverse from each other. I have a wide breadth of experience. I think that uniquely qualifies me to understand every single case that would come before me. But what I feel is my best quality, what brings me the thing that tells me Chris Brown would be a good judge, is just my ability to understand people, to let people give me their story without prejudgment, without a team sport saying, well, this team supports me and this team doesn't support me. I want to reach out to all of Broward County. Every single endorsement that I would get, every endorsement that I have an opportunity to go before, I find it an honor. I mean, I enjoy doing that with people. I think in your courtroom, people are just looking for a fair judge, someone that's going to do what they say, mean what they say, give you a fair opportunity without this political prejudgment, vindictive stuff that you see sometimes in courtrooms. And I think that qualifies me. I think my life experience has taught me many lessons to know what difficulties some families go through and the joy of overcoming those difficulties. And I think that experience you bring to the court, I think will serve me well when looking at all these people that come before your court with these diverse experiences, whether it's a criminal, a ticket, or some, an insurance company that they're suing.
Okay.
I think all that works in my favor here.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We want to be mindful of time as well. So go ahead, Ms. Hyde.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our judicial system still has strides to make, as any judicial system does, because when we say the words with liberty and justice for all, I believe that's a lifelong pursuit. But Broward County in particular has been facing some challenges. There's a lack of confidence in the system. I don't have to explain to you all that's happened over the years. How do we restore that? We need to elect people who have good character, have integrity, and who are going to be impartial. Serving the system for me has been, in the past 15 years I've been here, has been about making sure that the community foundation is strong. In my practice as a family law attorney, I don't do any revenge litigation, and I have served hundreds of satisfied clients. I think that the voters should look me up, see what my clients have said about me and my approach towards them. The court needs to be accessible to everyone. I have taken the time over the past 10 years to learn the judicial system, to sit on the bench as a hearing officer, learning how to have judicial temperament. I have worked with people who have come to the courts not knowing English, not having disabilities, or who are just angry that they're in court. So I know how to deal with people like that. Stepping up for me means not just serving more people and doing more, but leading one step closer to achieving justice for everyone in our community. So I invite you to vote for me as Broward County Judge.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hyde. Thank you, Mike Ahearn and Chris Brown. Really appreciate your participation this afternoon. Best of luck to all of you.
Hey,
Take care.
Steve.
So long now.
Steve.
Goodbye.
Steve.
Thank you very much.